Hello and welcome back to app development. All right, so we're going to continue looking at TinyWebDB and apps that are kind of sharing data and working in a more sort of, we'd even say global setting, because really anybody can access this one database that's being hosted on the internet. So what you're going to be making is a teacher rater. All right, so there's going to be 4 pages. There's going to be an intro landing page. There's going to be a page to leave a review. And then there's going to be a page to check all of the reviews for a class, no matter who the teacher is. And then there's going to be a page to check all the reviews for a teacher, no matter what classes they're teaching. All right, so let's start just by checking the leave a review page. So we're going to go here. And as normal, it's going to take a second for the emulator to get there. But when it does load up, the page, it's pretty simple. All the pages for this app are pretty simple. It's mostly just like text and input boxes and things like that. All right, so here we are. All right, so here's the page. So it asks for a teacher name. So I could put in the name Bona. It asks for a class name. So I teach a class called computer programming. So I'll put that in there. It uses a spinner to give the score. So it's from 1 to 10. All right, so I'll give myself a 6. And then it gives you a box where you can type in some comments. It was just okay. And I think we're done here. Now, on my emulator, the button is a little hidden, so I probably should have made this box a little smaller, but I can still click on it. And when I click on it, it's going to submit that review to the online database. All right, and then after I submit it, it will bring me back to sort of the main landing page here. All right, so let's take a look at the database. So here's the database before I made that submission. All right, so this was the last review that I had submitted. Noticed it was for app dev, but the one that I just did was for computer programming. So when I hit refresh, you should see something for computer programming. And then the other piece of this is we have this second entry called Vona review list. And what's happening here is that TinyWebDB doesn't have a command to retrieve all of the tags in the database. All right, and the reason for that is if it's a shared database, there could be all sorts of tags in there. There could be tags that deal with different apps. There can be, millions of accounts, whatever. It's sort of cumbersome to try to keep track of every single tag in the database. So what this does is this keeps track of the different reviews that I've created, all right? Because I'm going to need a way to be able to retrieve all of those reviews. So this entry is basically a list of all of the reviews that I've created. So let me hit refresh now. All right. And when I hit refresh, you're going to notice there were 2 things added to the database. One is the actual review. All right, so there's my name, there's the class, there's the comment that I left, there's the score, and there's the date. Now, you might have noticed I didn't type in a date. We're actually going to read the date right off the phone or the emulator and have that automatically fill in. But notice here that this Vona 6 was added to this Vona review list. All right, that wasn't there before, and Vona 6 is the key for that review that I just entered. So this one entry is just keeping track of all of the different reviews that I've entered. So there's a review Vona 1, Vona 2, Vona 3, Vona 4, Vona 5, Vona 6, and so on and so forth. Now, when you actually work through this app, all right, you're going to use your own last name. All right, so instead of Vona6, it'll be whatever your last name is. And then the reviews will just get numbered. So the first one will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on and so forth. So every time you add a review to the database, you're actually going to be making 2 submissions. One will be the review itself, all right, which has its own unique key. And then the second submission will be to update this index, or you can almost think of it as like a table of contents, so that your app knows how many reviews have been submitted and what are the keys to get to each of those reviews. So it's kind of like a 2-step process, which we didn't really have to worry about in the login app because there the username was the key. Here, since we want to know all of the different reviews that have been submitted and be able to keep track of them, we are going to have sort of this 2 submission process. And again, I'm going to remind you, don't use Vona when you're setting up the app. Use your own last name. That way we don't have to worry about different people getting in the way of other people and messing up other people's data. We'll all be using the same database, but it'll be sort of unique to each person because you'll be using your own last name. The only other thing I want to mention on this page is if something starts going wrong when you're testing or when you're trying to work things out, you can always go back in here and just delete things and then clear them out and start the testing process over. Obviously, don't delete anybody else's work, but if you need to clear this out for testing purposes, you can delete your own stuff just to make sure that everything's working and it's cleared out as necessary. All right, so really quickly now, I just kind of want to show you some of the other pages. So let me go back to this, go back to this. So if you go to the check a class page, again, it's obviously going to take a second, but it will load up. And what you're going to see is that there's going to be a drop-down box to select which class you want to look at. And then there's going to be a list viewer that allows us to see all of the different comments. Okay. So this looks like a regular button, but it's actually a list picker. All right. And when I click on it, it'll show me all of the different classes that have reviews. So if I click on app development, all right, this right here is a list viewer. All right. And it shows me all of the comments that people have submitted. And then it gives me my average rating. Right? If I go back to this and pick a different class, these will clear out. It'll give me the new comments and it'll give me my new rating. All right. So again, when you're doing it by class, we don't necessarily know who the teacher is. We just know these are all of the reviews that were left for this specific class. All right. And then if I go back to the home page, and I click on the teachers button, all right, that page is pretty much going to look exactly the same. The only difference is instead of organizing things by classes, everything is going to be organized by teacher. All right, so I'll be able to pick from different teachers and see all of the reviews for the teacher, but it won't necessarily tell me like which class those are coming from. It'll just give me the reviews for the teacher, and it will calculate an average for that specific teacher. All right, but the setup is the same. This is still a list picker. So these are the only 2 teachers that have reviews. So if I click on this one, all right, you're seeing all of my different reviews. If I click on this one, you're seeing he's only got 1 review. And again, it gives me an average rating and everything else there. All right, so this is what you're going to be building. All right, again, it's using TinyWebDB, but it's adding this idea of sort of an index entry that keeps track of all of your other tags. All right, so I hope this was helpful. Obviously, if you have any questions when you're working through the lab, let me know, and best of luck.